Welcome back to another episode with a full disclosure. I am Christian Thayer, and seemingly every episode, my wardrobe seems to get a little bit more relaxed. And on this episode, I am greeted with a special guest, Mitch Peterek.
Hello. Great to be here.
Mitch Peterek. Thank you. I appreciate you wanting to be on. So Mitch, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody your professional background, how did you get into this business?
So real estate is a great business with many avenues, as many of you know. I started off in a different part of real estate. As we are in residential real estate, I got into commercial property management to start off my career. After I graduated from Central Michigan, I moved to Chicago for a few years, and I knew I was only going to be there for a couple of years, so I didn't really want to start doing residential work quite yet. So I learned about commercial property management, and I worked in a few buildings downtown Chicago, one of them being the Harris Bank building, and then I also worked for Northwestern Memorial Hospital. They're one of the largest real estate holders in the state of Illinois. So I got my start in commercial property management. And that's where I started, and now I'm into residential real estate, and I'm doing market research here at Real Estate One. As you know, I also am a realtor at Real Estate One Royal Oak.
All right, so for those of you listening, just to reiterate, Mitch is both a realtor and a research analyst. So we will be, at least at the point of this episode, we're going to be hopefully diving more into the market and what he's seeing as a research analyst. So with that being in mind, Mitch, what exactly are your current thoughts on the current market?
Yeah, so this is the question that I get every day, and many realtors also get this question every day, whether somebody is looking to enter the market or they're already writing offers. That's something that you really need to know. What is going on with the current market? And a lot of talk that's going on right now is that the market is slowing down, and what we're trying to do is measure how fast the market is slowing down, because we do have signs that are showing right now that the market is coming to a slow, but just because it's slowing down doesn't mean it's becoming cold. The market is and has been so hot for the last year that a little bit of a cool off is a relief to some parties in the real estate market. Many buyers have been in these multiple offer situations, and they're really competing with one another, and to have some more inventory loosen up right now is much needed relief to some buyers.
Okay. Where do you think the market is? I guess I asked my previous guest this too, and it was sort of the same concept of, do you think we're going to see the same thing next year that we saw this year in terms of once warm weather hits, we're getting 16 offers in 24 hours?
There's definitely a possibility. Last year was quite the anomaly coming out of the pandemic. It's what we've really been talking about. But what the pandemic did is it really further hindered some of our inventory issues, and especially the entry-level markets. We really are looking for more properties, and how are we going to get those? Well, we need people to be building more homes. We need people who own the homes to start moving. The average age before the pandemic someone was in a home was about 10 years. We're seeing that trend still push even further. Boomer generation, they're maybe more hesitant to move right now. They didn't want people coming through their house and, spreading germs throughout the pandemic. And that really caused quite the backup for the last year of new listings coming to market. And at the same time, there were plenty of reasons for buyers to want to get into homes. We expected this mass exodus from a lot of our cities, and while there was some of that, it wasn't to the tune that some of the media outlets kind of wanted us to think. But
Sure.
Rural markets are really getting some of that growth that we've been talking about. There's the ability to work from home, as you can see yourself. You're at home right now, and so am I,
Correct.
and we're still able to communicate and do our jobs. And many people are learning that they're going to be able to do the same moving forward. And I think that's really going to move the trends to people living in some more rural and suburban communities than before. And we've been behind on new construction. So we don't really have the houses built for these people who are entering our suburbs, and it's causing demand to grow and prices to rise.
Yeah, the whole new construction thing obviously I think took a lot of the world by storm earlier this summer when lumber prices obviously skyrocketed, and nobody was that I think definitely slowed the new construction because it took a brand new house essentially and made it 50,000 or X amount of dollars more expensive, and a lot of people didn't really want to pay that. Like for example, my parents, they had somebody trying to build behind them. They started to break ground, and then as the whole lumber prices shot up, it was a ghost town over there for essentially 4 months. Because I mean, granted, we can only assume, but they just didn't want to pay the extra thousands of dollars for lumber prices. And I last time I checked, lumber prices have at least came down a little bit or
They
back
have
to normal.
readjusted, and I will say, the lumber prices were a big thing in the news headlines, attracting attention, and I will say they caused quite the inconvenience to builders. But at the same time, I think with those new numbers and elevated price levels for lumber, it still made sense for some of these builders to take on projects. But that being said, they were behind before the pandemic, so this has just really caused another slowdown. And you mentioned construction. Here in Michigan, we've really been slow to the draw for some of these tradesmen, and even people looking to get remodeling work done on already owned homes. That's been quite the competition among your neighbors of who's got the
Hmm.
best contractor in town, and no, you cannot have his number or her number.
That's very, very true. What now? This is very much an opinionated question. What do you think it has to take place for us to get caught back up on construction, or will we just always and forever be behind?
It's a tricky thing because it's the chicken or the egg conversation.
Mm,
How many
yeah,
of these things do we need? And we really ran into big trouble back in 2006, leading up to the shutdown
financial
or the
crisis.
financial crisis, and
Yeah.
um, they were doing that. They were overbuilding leading up to the meltdown, and now we're trying to be extra cautious about it. And people keep talking about bubbles bursting. We're really not anywhere near that point yet. So we need demand to slow down a little bit, and we also need these builders to keep on building, and we really need them at the entry level range. Most of these builders
Hmm.
are really looking to make the most bang for their buck. If you're paying top dollar for lumber, you want to build a big house and get the most money for it. So some of these smaller houses and mid-sized markets aren't really getting the new construction builds because it doesn't seem really profitable for the builders. So we need some of that inventory to come in more distressed areas.
The older generation, if the boomers, as well as even just like our parents, which I don't even know what that generation is, whatever it is before the boomers.
Silent.
Uh, Ooh, yeah, that's why I didn't remember. If they're refusing to move, or if they're just living longer, which means that nobody can get into their house. However, the millennials in our generation are trying to get out of apartments, but there's also no construction. Isn't that just going to continue to just keep elevating home prices?
Yeah, you're definitely naming the cycle, and there's a large swath of sellers who are looking to downsize, and they're now competing with the people looking to get into those downsized homes. So you have the
Yes.
people exiting their apartment looking to get more space, And then you have the larger homes looking to downsize into the smaller space. So it's really causing quite the chokehold on the middle level of the market. And you can really see it in the numbers. That the entry level and the high range are definitely seeing their share of appreciation, but right in the median level of most markets are what's really getting hit hard right now. And when you see that, it causes the whole market to go up, which is why you're seeing the average sales price and price per square foot rise across just about all of our communities.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when was it? It was 2020 August. I put an offer in on a house, and I think it was like maybe 15,000 over asking, which I'm like I wasn't really willing to do, but the price was great. It had a pool, and I'm like, sure, why not? And the deadline comes in, and I get a phone call from my realtor the next morning, and she's like, "You got beat out by a cash offer." And I'm like, well, I'm fairly certain that I didn't get beat out by somebody my age with a cash offer. I probably got beat out by somebody looking to downsize with a cash offer because they have the money. So you are definitely correct. I think the younger generation is we will. I don't think we're gonna. I mean, we're just gonna continue to have a hard time because I mean we'll never be able to compete with a cash offer if there is a cash offer. But that's just a personal note.
Yeah, and just going off that, you might be competing with somebody's parents who are putting in their cash offer for their kid, and then they're gonna have them,
Yeah.
take out a mortgage after they've already won the house, and that's something that I have heard of buyers doing. A parent who's just trying to help them get into that first home. They'll
Is
take
that
out the
is that
mortgage
legal?
later.
Is
What?
that even legal?
Oh yes, it's definitely, yeah. It's
I don't like it.
a family thing.
It's a family thing. Okay. So as a research analyst, you obviously are pretty well versed in the market and what the heck's going on in trends. However, to somebody who is not a research analyst but is also a realtor that wants to stay up to date on current trends and just numbers, what are some accessible ways for them to do that?
Well, I obviously will have to talk about the Real Estate One housing report that gets published monthly by yours truly and my partner Randy Rapicki out of Grosse Pointe. That is our number one source for what's going on in the market. If I could talk about last month's main story, we talked about the month's supply of inventory. And what exactly is month's supply of inventory, you might ask? It's the number of months it may take to sell out the current supply that we have available in the market. So let's say there's 100 homes available for sale right now. We have 80 that sold, or well, we had, let's say 100 that sold last month. We have 1 month's supply of inventory. So, right now we are running into a low inventory. Well, we have been in the low inventory market for the last year plus of, pre-pandemic. We were in a low inventory market and it's just been sustained. But right now we're sitting around 1.5 months of inventory across all markets and price ranges, which is quite impressive. And a statistic that's often talked about is the 6 months of supply is what we consider a healthy and neutral market. So if you're anywhere below 6 months supply of inventory, you can generally assume that prices are going to be appreciating based on the amount of supply you have. So back in 2008, we hit record highs around, 20 months of supply, which means you'd take maybe 2 years to sell a house that was listed on market based upon the amount of supply. So you'd have to do, drastic measures to make the house sell. And right now we're only sitting around 1.5. So, those really, really tight markets that you're talking about, homes are selling, within the first 10 days, more than 30%. So
Yeah.
we're really looking at those top homes that are selling pretty much instantly. And then those homes that might be priced a little aggressively might be sitting a little longer. And obviously, the more expensive the home, the more likely it'll stay on market a little longer. Our
Mm-hmm.
luxury markets are probably closer to 30 days on average, but really our whole market right now we're sitting around 15 to 17 days, which is pretty much instantly homes are selling at that rate.
Yeah, I feel like that is ridiculously low because I mean, like, what's for like the middle price range? Isn't it like 250 to I don't even know what the top cap is.
Yeah, we'll say 250
For,
to 500.
yeah, wasn't it like a couple years? Like, what's the healthy time frame for months of inventory for like that range?
Yeah, well, if you'll ask a buyer's agent, they'll like enough time to get in the home with their clients. And sellers like this instant sell market. If you have a home and you're looking to get out of it, you don't have to wait long if you price it appropriately. So there really isn't necessarily a normal number, but 2018, 2019, we were probably sitting between 30, 45 days, maybe closer to 60 over winter.
Sure.
But we might not get up to that this winter because our supply has been bought out pretty rapidly. And, we'll need several months of growing inventory to get back to this normal market. But, you're very right that you said earlier, we may see another spring that it's another just hot spring.
Hmm. What are your thoughts on, so obviously home prices are what a lot of people would probably say are inflated, or they're just going for a lot of money. Is that concerning at all to you? Do you think, um, do you think people are paying too much, and maybe what the repercussions of that could be long term?
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation that people are having. And, if you had this opinion, which many people did 1 year ago from now, or one year back, those people who didn't buy last year are now sitting, with their hat in their hand, and
Hmm.
prices have elevated even further. And they're saying, I should have bought last year. And those people who bought last year should have bought the year before. And it does lead to, are we headed towards some type of recorrection? But right
Hmm.
now, we just don't see it with the way demand is. And,
Hmm.
you know, evictions are going to start happening, and we'll see if some of that shakes loose some inventory. But at this current time, we're not seeing it come.
Hmm. All right. Well, that's good to know. I mean, I think I've read a few articles here and there where a lot of people are saying like, yeah, if you bought a house this year, you're never gonna be able to sell it for what you just bought it for, or it's gonna take X amount of time to get the money back that you paid for it. But it doesn't sound like what you're saying will be that case anytime soon.
And if you're talking to somebody who's a real estate professional, they're gonna tell you the exact same, because who doesn't want prices to always go up? But what I'm
Hmm.
saying is, as at this point in time, there aren't the signs there to tell us that it's going to be happening quite yet. And we could be having this conversation now, and the stock market crash next week, and I look like a
Sure.
buffoon. But for right now, that's just not the case. One
Okay.
thing that I really am concerned about, and many people are, is inflation, and
Mm.
possibility of hyperinflation. And it's something that definitely needs to be talked about, because inflation is definitely affected by real estate. And what happens to real estate during times of great inflation is real estate prices go up, because you definitely need to have somewhere to live, um, no matter what. And whether
Yeah.
that's a house or a rental, with rental prices going up as well, you're not better off renting. So I could easily make that argument for you.
Okay. No, that's good to know. I mean, you brought up the stock market. Um, for those of you that have been unaware, stock market has been on an absolute tear for, I don't know, basically a decade.
Very
And
correct.
every day, yeah, every day people are always, trying to come out and they're trying to call the top, or they're saying that we're in a bubble, or blah, blah. I'm talking stock market here. So if and when the stock market ever does decide to take more of a longer term correction, not like what we saw in March of 2020, flash crash, we drop like 40%, then immediately go straight back up, but more so like an actual recession-esque stock market, bear market. How much do you think that will play into the housing market?
Yeah, so a recession's a recession. People are gonna stop spending if they think they have to. But 4 out of the last 5 recessions were positive for the real estate market, with the exception being 2008. So I'm not saying there isn't the possibility of a correction. There's conversations of all these Wall Street funds who are now getting into real estate and real estate
Yeah.
holdings, and you don't know what percentage of these large corporations are now buying into housing, because they know everyone makes their rent payment or their mortgage payment, and it's really the same conversation that I imagine people were having leading up to the financial crisis. So um,
Mm.
there always are signs, but here in southeast Michigan and all of Michigan, pretty much we're seeing very strong real estate markets, and we just really could use some more inventory shaken loose.
All right, good to know. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. All right, so let's see. So I asked you about where a realtor could get their research, their news, and you obviously said Real Estate One, housing report. However, if somebody's listening to this and they're maybe not a Real Estate One agent or under the Real Estate One family of umbrellas, are there any like other places that maybe not you as a research analyst for Real Estate One gets your research, but just a general place for realtors and real estate agents to stay up to date, like a site or a publication that you like?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using NAR's resources, National Association of Realtors. I often cite them for some of my research pieces that I do here in Michigan. They're one of the best sources for realtors in general or the general public. A lot of their stuff is open to the general population. If you like really dry, long research reports like I do, you can dive right in for a nice Sunday afternoon read. Or
Perfect.
often what I do for the housing report is, if I do see something I really like in a concept, I'll try to summarize that up in one page for you. So
Oh, good to
I'd
know.
recommend the condensed version, or you could, 30-page PDF slideshow.
All right, good to know. That was all very good information. I really hope that you listening or watching at home found this interview very helpful. If you did, feel free to let me know in the comments, give it a thumbs up. And thank you guys for listening. Mitch, if you would like to say any of your last words, feel free to do so now.
No, I'd just like to thank you for having me. If anyone is looking to talk about the real estate market, you can reach out to me. Or if you're looking to have some research done for you, you can go email us at research@realestateone.com.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. Research at realestateone.com. Thank you guys for watching and listening. As always, I will talk to you guys next episode.